Hi viewers, thanks so much for tuning in today. We'll be playing a new game called A Case of Distrust. This game came out a couple of years ago. I'm really excited to get started. I won't say too much about the game. We'll be playing on PC. And it's not a particularly long game, so we should be able to finish this really quickly. And without further ado, let's get started. So there's a lot of text in this game. I don't know that I necessarily need to read it to you verbatim, but it looks like we've woken up in our desk chair and there's a man staring at us, which surprised us. So we stretch and yawn, so I guess we're not too surprised. And then say, not very nice to sneak into a sleeping woman's apartment, but his stare just continued. So what do we do? I'm going to laugh. So I laugh at his glare. I'd seen San Francisco shrewd thugs, hardened cops, and deadly politicians, but none could ever match that gaze. So we reached into our coat and took out a knife and flicked it open. Do we give him the knife or hold the knife steady? We'll give him the knife. Okay, so we give him the knife and say, look, that's all there is, take it or leave it. But a detective knows when she's beat, and I knew then. He wanted to search the place, and that's what he would do. I sighed, knowing my weakness for his type. Alright, I said, let's look. So, it is a cat. The cat let out a gleeful meow. In victory, I picked up the knife and cut a piece of my apple that the cat had rejected. Always a sore winner, I jabbed. But I was smiling too because I was telling the truth. There was absolutely no other food in my apartment. The cat often dropped by to scavenge. He made a lot of noise when he thought I was holding out on him, but right now the place was clean and empty, no food anywhere. I had to prove it to him. So here we have the cat, and we're going to prove to him that there's no food, I guess. So the cat had waltzed into my apartment a few years earlier. He kept coming back, though there was rarely a morsel to eat. He continued his loud meowing until I proved to him the place was empty of food. Okay, so what's back here? A bunch of papers. We've taken the copy of old murder cases from the San Francisco Police Department records when I'd left. I loved reading through them, even though my own contributions were minimal. At that time, I longed for those types of jobs. The truth was, any work was hard to find for a female detective. Yes, we've made it very clear we are female. A newspaper was flopped on the floor, its headline about the death of Lenin, leader of the Red Menace sweeping Russia. It seemed the Bolsheviks had lost their heads. A small statue underneath the side table. It had been police evidence in a crime, and its owner hadn't wanted it back. I took a shine to it, so I snagged it for myself on my way out of the department. So this looks like maybe the cat thinks the statue bird is real. Who knows? Let's look at the book. An old notebook, now filled to the brim. I wrote everything down, even minor details. Never know when it can be useful, or what can be useful. Let's look at the second half. So she's currently working on adultery cases. The only things I'd get hired to do. So you're like a private investigator finding spouses that cheat on each other. Whatever my findings, my employers often refused to believe me. It was the thankless work, but even that was hard to come by. Yeah, I mean, people don't want to know that their significant other is sleeping around. So the packed cigarettes were the latest trend, but I still preferred to roll my own. The ashtray was evidence that it was a practice skill. I suppose I had a lot of free time back then. Desk lamp. Lamp had belonged to my Uncle Louis. He'd been a San Francisco Police Department officer, SFPD, one who argued policewomen could be good detectives, even while the others jeered at me. I knew he'd been right, but my current workload didn't help that claim. Well, we're gonna try not to think about him. I was lousy at handling the emotions behind those thoughts. Yeah, I believe that. Alright, let's see if we can go. Guess we can't click and go into the room, but we can look at this. So here's the ice box. Half blocked the kitchen doorway. My income rarely kept much stocked in it, and right now it was empty. Well, show the cat it's empty. Is there anywhere else to click? Okay. So the goal is to show the cat there's no food. He's going to continue his incessant meowing until I prove to him the apartment was empty. I had to talk with him and then contradict him by pointing to a piece of evidence in my notebook. Okay. We're going to show him the icebox. Yes. There we go. So we've got no food, cat. He licked his chops and looked at me. Apparently, he still didn't believe me. I needed to contradict him somehow to show him something in the apartment that would prove it was empty of food. I'm gonna show him the icebox. Okay. Sorry fella, there's no grub in there for me either. With those, he stared at me with those eyes. As disappointed as I felt, those big yellows always got to my soul. Thoughts of my family filled my head. Let's think about our sister. So our sister Muriel had sent a letter with an update of her life in Chicago. She and her husband had just purchased a new home outside the bluster of the city. Their 3 young children were looking forward to the move. Let's see. The letters kept me going. Hearing about my family, however remote, helped me cope with the isolation I was feeling. I refused to accept it myself back then, but perhaps Merle had known anyway. My sister had the ordinary lifestyle that I had rejected. I think if you're going to be a police detective, you probably want to change the world. Yep, we wanted to bring justice for victims, especially the ones who no longer had a voice. Not that I was helping advance that cause with the types of cases coming my way. No, not really. Not adultery cases. So now our minds spiraled into the unusual series of questions. Had I even impacted the women's movements? Had I made any change on society at all? Probably not. Was my plotting career worth losing traditional happiness? Probably not. What was the point in the life I had chosen? Okay, so the cat meows from, and that snaps us back to our thoughts. Or snap my thoughts back into the moment. I took a deep breath and grinned back at him. Guess you can scram for now, I said. Nobody's going to come knocking with food for you, fella. Oh my gosh. I'm surprised this cat keeps coming back. Alright, the door. In the doorway was the regrettably familiar face of Connor Green. We're gonna stare at him. I stared at him, a hired hand for whomever needed a job done, but Green snitched whenever he was put in a squeeze. Working the beats, I remember that all too well. Remarkably, the underdog had been blind to it, but Green wasn't particularly assiduous. I was certain the criminal ranks would eventually plug him. So he looked at me through the doorway with a coy smile. Well, ain't you gonna invite me inside? We're gonna close the door, we don't like him. He stuck out his foot. Hey now, foul way to treat a customer. So that was his angle, hiring me as a detective. I wondered what a bootlegger would need with a private eye, but he answered without my prompt. I'll make this quick. I can't take this to the hog house or the pigs would laugh me out. And other dicks just aren't as tempting. His grin widened. Thought this was gonna be quick, I said, and I started rolling a cigarette. Probably not very well. It wasn't quick, and so we rolled and lighted a second smoke when Green finally finished the story. I noted the important bits in my book. Okay, good. So let's take a look. What are the important bits? So there was a letter slipped under his door in a white envelope. The envelope contained a single typewritten leaf, which he handed me. It read, "End your game or we'll end you." No signature. Instead, ending with only a small scribble in the bottom right corner that resembled a black hand. So Green had a lead on a new rum running scheme, a connection from Vancouver. He'd given a sample to Tiny Paul, the gangster who ran the Tin Spoon speakeasy for mob boss Jerry Ferry. That's a good name. They agreed to buy in for more. Green surmised the letter was about his rum running. Okay. He suspected Redstone Stable, another bootlegger, of sending the letter. He told me that Stable ran a barber shop during the day and gave me the address. I like how the color is changing to green when we're talking to Green. That's clever. Alright, so Green needs to know who the threat was from. And it was also, if we think back, yellow for the cat who had the yellow eyes. Alright, so he'd get Paul's gang to deal with them and continue a scheme to get rich. If I go snooping myself, he concluded, folks will see I'm not trusting people. No trust leads to no customers. I need to play it low key, which is where you come in. So then I raised an eyebrow and stared at him through the cigarette smoke. Something in his yarn was still twisted. Alright, so he noticed we're suspect. So he said, you know, I work closely with Lewis. I'm sure he'd want you to protect me as much as any other victim. Oh Lord, bringing in that card. So Lewis had put me on my uncle Lewis had put me on the force. I'd finally accepted Lewis' death. I was still searching for answers. I don't know. What do we want to say? We're still searching for answers. I was still searching for answers after his death. He'd been a man obsessed with helping victims and bringing justice to those beyond salvation. Without ethos, I never understood how he could have taken his own life. I probably didn't. Those thoughts haunted me, so we quit our job and started our own practice as a private eye for cheating spouses. Was Lewis worth my time? Would he be worth Lewis's? So Green tipped off my uncle in a few cases, wondered if that was enough to warrant my protection. Alright, so now we got a headache. He threw a bill in my lap. Keep the C note as a retainer and don't worry about getting in touch. I'll find you later for a chat. He turned down the hallway and I let him go. If he was willing to give me $100 with no commitment, I wouldn't stop him. we're back to the cat. Well, our apartment with the cat. Alright, so we're confused. And we got a headache. So let's go get some coffee. I'd mount a gold plate on the outside that read PC Malone, private investigator. Let's go get some coffee. Alright, so it's not a cool place. It's no Starbucks. I gave my address and slept in the backseat of the taxi cab. I thought a good way to pass the journey might be to chat with the driver. No, we don't want to talk. Alright, so Southern Coffee is an automat diner. Ethel Burgess, the lone waitress, was friendly to help with any inquiry. Of course, if you winked at her right, she'd show you the way to the downstairs toilet where Frankie played bathroom attendant. Alright. So, let's see. What all can we click on? Not much. We can take the stairs. Let's talk to the bartender. Alright, so he tended the bar. Though it wasn't his place, I'd never caught a whiff of the real owners. Alright, so they trusted Frankie. Alright, so Frankie's smiling at us. He was a big fella. I'd say he's a good orator. Alright, so he's very loyal. Sat at the bar, you got the spooks, PC? He said you were worn as a catcher's mitt. I suppose my exhaustion showed. I won $100 for nothing and I can't let it go. So now we're telling Frankie all about our case. I don't think you're supposed to do that as a private investigator. I mean, people are paying you for your discretion too, I'm sure. Alright, so we're talking to Frankie for a while, telling him all about this stuff. And he's showing an interest. Maybe he's involved. Who knows? That's why you don't tell people stuff. Alright, so Green's case is better than most of what you're given, he said with some enthusiasm. Well, that's true. At least it's not more of that adultery bump. Yep. Sure, I replied, but I started with a goal in mind. What's the point in helping a man like Green? Frankie clicked his tongue on his teeth. Lawyer or priest? Why does it matter? Let me ask you, are the clients you have now the types you want to help? We'll say they're not. I mean, we're just airing all this dirty laundry. We might as well talk smack about our clients too. It could be that Green's case shoots your career forward. Yeah, we're right. Alright, so the basement door opens and shuts. A small, blustering woman began marching towards me. She was wearing a light blue clock hat with a gray ribbon. Okay. Tilted back on her head, a scarf of similar blue draped around her neck, but I was startled by what she wore under it. A gray trench coat that looked too large for her frame. It was exactly like the one that had belonged to Lois. Oh, so now she's insulting us. She's probably, I guess, one of the cheating people that we followed. All I could do was sit and take it until I ran out of gas and started breathing heavily. I set my drink on the bar and looked her in the eyes. We're gonna say hello. Alright, so we're introducing ourselves, and she was shocked. The flame returned in her eyes. Between clenched teeth, she hissed, "I'm the wife of that bum who sneaks into your bed." Huh? Where'd you get the coat? I don't know. My husband gave it to me. Look, don't change the subject, you floozy. I saw him leave your stylist, and that was when I gathered she was Connor Green's wife. Oh, okay. I'm a private investigator, not your homewrecker. I don't think your husband in his line of business will want to bed a dick anyhow. We don't need to prove nothing. Alright, between shouting obscenities, I understood part of the story. Apparently, she had seen her husband leave my apartment. Yeah, well, that was obvious. Thank you, Sherlock. And distraught, she had followed me all the way to Frankie's basement to confront me. And now she's crying. And Frankie's comforting her. Alright, so now Frankie returns and we say, "You turned night real quick." He snorted a laugh. Oh hell. We can't have that siren in here. With a torture yelling like that, every street bugger would have come to her rescue. She's a torch singer? Well, I learned she was Mrs. Connor Green just now. When she came in here, I had only seen her as Little Fanny singing lead for the jazz band at the Tin Spoon. Tiny Paul's joint, that's where Green is selling his liquor. Say, you think that's where she met her husband? I laugh. You're a real sleuth, Frankie. He made a sarcastic bow. Okay, so we're not good with emotions, but it was plain that Frankie had instantly fallen for the girl. Oh, he likes a married woman. That's not good. So what if I had more to squeeze out of her? What more could you possibly want from Little Fanny? She can't have anything to do with Green's mess. We're gonna contradict. What evidence do we have? I don't... Well, yeah, we're gonna use this to contradict. She had to have known because she was singing there. She had to have known her husband was up to stuff there. No, she needs to know. I guess we don't have any evidence. I don't think this shows us anything. Alright, fine, we won't contradict. Frankie looked at me with a spark in his eye. Go ahead, he said, give it a swig. I grabbed the half-empty glass that had been next to the bottle and swirled some of its contents between my gums. A bit spicy, ain't it? Frankie asked. It's good. Okay, so it's an expensive wine. Grapes for a long time. Too bad more folks can't taste them. That woman's league is the devil. Anything else? I guess not. Alright. Let's go upstairs. Yes, leave. We're gonna prove she was involved. Let's see. I suppose even mobsters had people who cared about them, and she'd been wearing Lewis's old jacket, so perhaps Green and Lewis had been closer than I'd realized. I guess I'll take Connor Green's bait, I replied. I've got nothing better on the stove, and he might need the help. Something still stinks, though. Well, what's your plan? Frankie said. The way I see it, I have 3 goals right now. What are our 3 goals? Alright, so Green hired me for a job. Find the guy who wrote the letter. That's the basic part. Green's a shady character. I have to learn about him. Who is the guy? Dig in his past. I can't go back to him blind. And then there's something about his bootlegging. How'd Green get a connection like that? What's his source exactly? Squeezing that lemon might give me more juice. Alright, so Frankie seems to agree. So where is it you're off to? Alright, so let's see. We've got 3 leads. The bootlegger stable, the Tin Spoon Lounge, and Mrs. Green. Frankie nodded. Well, if you're ever stuck, come back and see me. Okay, so he's going to be our help throughout this. I think we should go to the Tin Spoon. Let's talk to him this time. Oh goodness. He believed in democracy, but my old state's got this lawman, John Butler, that sells snake oil as far as I'm concerned. He wants to outlaw teaching evolution to children. I tried to fight it, to show the people he was insane, but it seems like his law will pass. How does this con man know more than a scientist? That's just one example. Well, democracy is good. Alright, so we're in front of the North Beach warehouse with a wooden sign. The sign's text was too worn for me to decipher any of its English, but a small gray spoon was still visible below the letters. I guess that indicates it's the Tin Spoon. I wrapped my knuckles twice over the large metal door. The panel just above my head slid sideways to reveal a pair of eyes. The eyes looked me up and down, then just stared ahead. They were black and had no emotion. The room beyond was dimly lit, so I couldn't see much of their surrounding faces. Alright, let's see. What's the password? We don't know. Alright, we're gonna have to leave before... Let's go to Green's house and see if we can get the password. Alright, let's see. What does this taxi driver have to say? An economics student at Stanford. We're gonna indulge. Alright, so he doesn't care about Germany. I'll agree. Yeah, that way the crazy driver stops talking to us. Alright, apartment had a dense cloud. So we got a dead plant. Mrs. Green just chilling. Let's talk to her first. It's rude just to go rummaging through an apartment. Alright, so she's asleep. Let's look at the dead plant. Alright. Bright yellow petals. The gray trench coat was hanging in the doorway. It certainly looked identical to Lewis's, not Uncle Lewis. Searched the pockets and found no identifying marks. It must have been a different jacket. It might have been a different jacket, but its recent appearance was off-putting. Alright, let's look at all of the empty bottles on the table. What's in the drawer? I opened the drawer of the backmost table. In it were 2 train tickets to St. Louis. Ha, forgot about moving Connor. I won't budge. Oh, ha, forget about moving Connor. I won't budge. Her head was raised, but her eyelids still remained closed. So we asked her further questions, but her just lolled back to where it had been. There was nothing else she'd say. Alright. She's been drinking. I don't think there's anything left here for us. Let's try and wake her up one more time. Okay. Alright, time to leave. Guess we gotta go to the barber shop. Right, you're just gonna show up and say, did you send this letter? Alright, we don't need to talk to these people. Okay, well, at least he looks awake. There's a tall man in the center of the room. He's wearing a flamboyant pink suit tailored to accentuate his stature with a maroon bow tie and pocket square. Alright. Okay, so no walk-ins. We'll just tell him why we're here. Get a drink. We're just gonna come out and say it. Green tells me this letter is from you. He doesn't like the threats, so Stable lowered his head to study the note, then chuckled. But this is a Blackhand letter. he said, flourishing a hand towards the paper. Have you ever seen a black hand letter, Miss Mullen? You should ring your friend Shipman at the station and ask what it means. So Sam Shipman had been one of my uncle's regular partners in the vice rackets. I wondered what Shipman could have to do with Green's case. Stable seemed to think that he had a lot to do with it. I pocketed the letter and continued my questions, but I had made a note to stop by the police headquarters. Let's investigate his... Yeah, let's ask that. Alright, so he's saying he may. Let's just ask about him. Oh, I wonder if he knows the password. Oh, barbers hear gossip. Let's see, did you know my uncle? Not well enough. I don't think there's anything else we can really ask. I wonder if, let's see, did we get anything more that we can ask? I only give haircuts to close friends. Let's see, what else? Oh, other methods of procuring wealth. Well, what are those methods? Okay, that might be it. Oh, looks like there is more stuff. Let's see. What's in here really quick? I don't think any of these things are particularly interesting. So his grandfather. Wrong one. No, this one. Alright, he doesn't want to talk about the furniture. Okay, I think we're done here. Time to leave. Maybe we can get the password from the police station. Alright, so there's a new girl behind the desk. Because we shared no recognition of one another. I asked for shipment and she motioned me to a chair as she pressed a pearl button. Alright, between my puffs I thought about our smoke plumes. He's always been helpful. Oh, so black hand letters are always ransom letters, not threats. Okay, so it's a fake letter. Okay, so is it Green that's getting one over on us, or is it someone else pulling Green's leg? Alright, so we gotta get more dirt. Where are we gonna go? Oh my goodness. Alright, well, we've been going around in circles for quite some time. I think here is probably a good place to stop. So let's stop here. Hopefully we can, continue trudging along, getting more information about everyone, and kind of figure out what on earth is going on here. Who sent Green the letters? What's going on with my uncle's death? Lots of things to kind of figure out. Alright, so thank you so much for watching, and until next time, talk to you soon.